Whoop, the dynamic duo.
I need to clarify that. All right, let's move on to the next thing that he talked about.
Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
All right. So this is interesting. These are the slates of movies that basically were already in the works before the whole revamp. Mm-hmm. What's fascinating about those movies is that I think one of the reasons why they're not giving up on Flash is because, in essence, Flash is kind of like the Crisis on Infinite Earth stories, where hopefully, and I think that's what the plan is, to kind of bring it all into fold and have one linear story as opposed to have the multiverse situations. As he said, he wants to have one DC universe, so no more multiversal things. And when there's an exception to that rule, we'll do an Elseworld, a la Joker, a la Batman. So in that sense, I kind of agree with that. I definitely, we've talked about it before, I definitely don't like the, multiverse approach to the superheroes. I think that's a mistake. So the first 4 movies that are coming out, I'll give you my opinion quickly and let me know what you think. I think that Shazam it's going to be interesting what the response to Shazam is, because the first movie, while I was disappointed in it, it made money. It did not make money. It made money, and it certainly made more money than Shazam. Now, I much prefer the Shazam movie to the Black Adam. It made more money than Black Adam. Now, I prefer the Black Adam movie to the Shazam movie. One of the things that I didn't like about the Shazam movie is that it went a little too silly in the end. Mm-hmm. It should have just kept it real. But if it had done that, I love the fact that they kept faithful to the superhero, the costumes. That's what I appreciate. But it went too silly and too campy, and I didn't like the way the movie ended. I prefer Black Adam. It didn't make money. It wasn't successful. Shazam did make money, so I don't know what the audience reaction. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't a big blockbuster success. The Flash could be a surprise, because from everything that I'm hearing, what they're saying is that despite Ezra Miller's nonsense personal life, the movie is so good they just can't let it go. Like, apparently the movie is that good. And so it's going to be interesting to see how people respond to that. After that, Blue Beetle, the only thing that I know about Blue Beetle is from the animated series. Mm-hmm. And I love the New Titans. I mean, the Young Justice. I love Young Justice. And that was my introduction to Blue Beetle. And I think you could make a really cool movie from that character. I think you can. Now, is he top tier? Could it be a Black Adam situation? It could. But it could also be a surprise Guardians of the Galaxy type situation, meaning you don't know the character, but the movie is awesome enough to be fun. I don't know which way. Same thing with Aquaman. Aquaman made $1 billion. Some people come for it. I happen to like that movie very, very, very much. I think it's a prototypical superhero movie. I don't need any more, any less than that. I'll appreciate more, but I don't need more. So it depends on how they handle that sequel. If it's as good as the first one or better, and it should be better, then that initial beginning of the James Gunn era, so far I would see 3 really good potentials out of 4. What's your thought?
To back up what you're saying, I think Shazam is going to do well. I don't know if it's going to do as well as the first one did. I think this one, and it's kind of a weird coin toss for me. And with that, what I mean is, when you look at these trailers, it's almost like the movie doesn't want to, or hasn't made up its mind what it wants to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't know whether it wants to be a comedy action piece
Yeah.
or whether it wants to be a total action piece featuring a comic book superhero. I don't know if that makes total
That's
sense.
well said. That's brilliantly said, and I agree 1,000%.
But I think that may get them in trouble. Okay. I like the changes in the new costumes. That's one of the only things that I have noticed about the trailers and said, okay, they did that right. Just as a quick little piece, and I'm not nitpicking, but I have to say this. I've always been a Shazam / Captain Marvel fan from the 70s when I was a kid. Always loved the Saturday morning piece from when it was done by Filmation in the 70s. One of the things that bugged me about the movie, and I understand in inclusiveness when it comes to diversity for the characters and what have you, I never liked Jaimin Hansu as the wizard himself. To me, he didn't fit Shazam the Wizard. And what I did not like about it, and I understand that was their approach, and I'm not going to drone on this forever, but the movie got in trouble to me from the very beginning because Shazam himself wasn't serious. He joked around, and that bothered me. It's in a weird way, my take on the Shazam movie is a little bit like what people feel about the classic Batman with Adam West and Burt Ward. They look at the old TV series as that's not Batman. Okay. But to me, for the time, although I can separate myself and separate the character, to me, Adam and Burt, and I've said this a number of times before, they have their place in DC's live action world, live action pieces, etc. I feel the same way about Shazam and about Captain Marvel, or however you want to address them. I just would have done some things differently. Concerning the Flash,
if I may, you said so many cool things.
No.
I just want to address, because before we listen. I agree with you 1,000%. And one of the things that I worry about the Shazam is the approach. It's going to be very interesting though, because one of the problems, Kevin, is that we as an audience are inconsistent. Not you or I. The audience, the general viewing audience, the comic book people, we're very inconsistent in what we're demanding from these movies. On the one hand, you have Shazam, and I agree with you. It turned me off. The moment it was Shazam is not taking himself seriously, it's kind of a goofy comedy type of thing. You lost me. You lost me, because that's not the material that I grew up loving and appreciating. Now, I felt that it could have been saved. Like, it could have started off as a kid getting powers, and so therefore acting like a kid and having funny moments, and then transition to, oh, hold on, we've got a situation here that we need to handle seriously, and I need to grow up relatively fast. Anime is brilliant at doing that. It'll start off very, very silly, but the next thing you know, like, very serious things are happening that make you care. So Shazam could have been saved, but it didn't do that. It started off silly, kind of weak and whatever, and then went deeper into the weakness. The only thing that it did well was the costumes. So Black Adam comes out and says, "Well, hold on a second. We're gonna do it the right way, right? We're gonna eliminate the silly nonsense. We're gonna give you an action-packed, real superhero," and that failed. So it's like, okay, what do comic book audiences want? Because we complain all the time about things that are campy and silly. And yet we sometimes, freaking Love and Thunder made $1 billion, 700 million, made $700 million. Ragnarok is touted as one of the best films in Marvel Universe. So we have no idea what we want. So I just wanted to throw that in before you talk about the next series, which is The Flash.
And thank you for saying that. And one quick thing, and I have to add this to my breakdown with Shazam as a movie series is that one of the things that the audience has wanted from day one was the showdown between Black Adam and Shazam.
Yeah.
And because of the box office failure of Black Adam, I don't think the audience is ever going to get that.
No, they're not getting it. No, they're not. We're not getting it. We're
and
not getting
if we do get it, it's going to be so far down the line that it's not going to matter anymore.
And it's certainly not going to be with Dwayne Johnson. Thoughts on the Flash?
But in regard to the Flash, and it's a weird thing for me to say this, like you, I keep hearing that the Flash is supposed to be a really good movie. It may be. I don't know if, and this is my personal bias. I know that at some point and in some way, I'll eventually see that movie. But I don't know if I'm going to pay for a movie ticket to see it. Because part of me, even though Ezra Miller is only one person involved in what that is, I can't give him any money. I know that sounds stupid.
No, it doesn't.
But
I hear it.
I can't give him any money. One of the things that has happened just within the last 6 days, not even a week, is that James Gunn went back and met with the editors and told them to re-edit the end of the movie. And this is to your point about trying to push everything together and get everything working. What he ended up ordering them to do, apparently within the last frames of the film, the Flash starts running again, and you end up seeing him make stops, or apparently he makes stops at different points, and he ends up seeing the 89 version of Michael Keaton's Batman. He ends up seeing Jason Momoa and so on as he's running. And he's having these very quick interludes with each. Well, one of the things that he decided to do, there was supposed to have been an exchange with all these people. And he turned around and told the audience, there are to be no post-credit scenes for this film. And that's where these were going to go. And one of them that the audience is freaking out about is that there was a young lady, her first name is Sasha. I cannot remember the young lady's name, and please forgive me. She's the new Supergirl for Flashpoint. She's hit the cutting room floor because she was a part of the post-credit setup. And a number of other characters have hit the cutting room floor because they were part of the same thing. And I don't know whether, in terms of a finished product, how much this damages the film. In a weird way, I think it might. And I know that, at least for now, there are no immediate plans to bring Ezra back. But if these post-credit scenes that included Gal Gadot, the young lady I mentioned as the new Supergirl, Ben Affleck, Jason Momoa, and what have you, and I realize that Gunn and company are trying to move beyond the Snyderverse. And I get that Ben Affleck and everybody else were part of the Snyder concept. But I think he may have damaged the movie just a little bit by removing those post-credit scenes.
Does that mean that the Keaton Batman is not going to be in there?
He's in it, but there was supposed to have been another closing scene, because keep in mind, my captain, when they signed Michael Keaton to return as Batman, he signed for 3 different movies. He was supposed to have been in The Flash. He was going to be involved in the Batgirl movie. And they were giving Michael a solo project again as Batman. And none of that is going to be outside of him appearing for a few minutes in Flashpoint.
Well, if I may, let me address some of the things that you said. The first point being Ezra Miller, and you're not willing to give him money. I'm gonna go see that movie, and I'm going to pay the ticket for it. And I'll tell you why. I do understand your concern. I do understand it, but the reason is because, first of all, going to see the movie is not giving Ezra Miller money. Ezra Miller already got paid. The second thing is that, and you said it yourself, a movie involves so many different moving parts that it's not just Ezra Miller, and it would be hurtful for so many people if the movie is good and those people don't get recognized for it because of Ezra Miller's screw ups. So for me, there are plenty of movies that I boycott, and I do that all the time. This one, the final point is that it's not that I forgive Ezra Miller. I do not forgive his actions. My approach is different, though. It's like, to me, he's someone who's suffering from mental health issues, as opposed to just being an a-hole. And mental health issues, to me, is more forgivable than anything else. I think he's someone who clearly needs help. And so that's less of an aggravating, I'm going to boycott you, how dare you. He didn't molest the child. He didn't, do anything egregious like Taika Waititi did with Thor: Love and Thunder. And so because of that, I'm going to, it's not that much of a point of contention to me to say I have to boycott Ezra Miller because he's such a bad guy. I look at it as a mental health issue. And if the movie is good, I'm going to give it a chance to take a look at it. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I understand and respect where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with it. I just have a different point of view.
Based on what you just said, I didn't look at it the way you just said it. I may have to.
One thing that we need to remember, and I think those things are very, very important. It's not forgiveness per se. It's not just forgiveness. It's kind of understanding. Remember something. Once upon a time, Robert Downey Jr. made Ezra Miller look like a schoolboy. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr. was a problem child. Okay, he got busted, arrested. I mean, the guy just got given so many chances. He literally did worse things than Ezra Miller. And look at Robert Downey Jr. now.
Yes.
Right? So in that sense, it's not as egregious for me. It's just not as egregious for me, So anyway, so now we move on from The Flash to Blue Beetle. What's your thoughts on Blue Beetle?
Like you, I knew very, very little about Blue Beetle outside of maybe, and I would even have to look within my comic collection itself. I think I may have 2 issues of Blue Beetle. Okay. Most of what I found out about the Blue Beetle character comes from Young Justice and the involvement of the character that way. The only other way that I was ever really on a heavy level or any kind of expanded level, rather, was with the animated show Batman the Brave and the Bold, because they had him make guest appearances within that version of the animated series. The character is interesting. Jaime is an interesting character. I do see the film as being completely independent of everything else. He may work. I think the one problem that they have, and you mentioned this within yourself, is that because the general audience does not know him or not know the character, he may end up being one, or Blue Beetle, in a manner of speaking, may end up being one of those characters that it ends up depending on cable and pay-per-view and all that kind of thing to carry it through. Now, it's not impossible for that to happen, because in a lot of ways, that's what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's happened with other characters as well. When these characters were exposed to cable TV and whatnot, they blew up. That may happen with Blue Beetle.
Yeah, well said, and enough said. Enough said. Aquaman.
I'm looking forward to Aquaman 2. I've already read, which I know you have as well, that the movie has become an edited nightmare, because basically, based on the Heard Depp trial and court issues, anything relating to Mira has been cut out of the movie, and it's created some major problems. Unless my information is backward, Amber Heard is nowhere in the film. Mira doesn't exist at all in this movie. Warner Brothers simply decided, for whatever percentages that actors get when movies come out that way, even above their own pre-existing paychecks, that they weren't going to pay her again, or give her any additional cash if she was meant to get box office points. I do know that a lot of the toys and figures that included Mira with Amber's face on it, they've already started begging the folks at DC and at Warner Brothers to allow some of this stuff to hit toy shelves. The fact is, that's the same problem that the Flash is having. I do think that it's a combination of a number of different things concerning Jason Momoa. I know that initially, before Walter Hamada and the original DC heads were let go, that there was plans for an Aquaman 3. I don't know whether they're going to do Aquaman as a third piece under the current circumstances. There has been a lot of going back and forth, and I know you've heard about it, of Momoa possibly becoming Lobo. All I can say is bring on Aquaman 2, and the rest of it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I again, well said, enough said. The only thing that concerns me about Aquaman, and I really, really hope they don't go away from that. One of the most, and I've said this a million times, one of the most important things to me when it comes to these movies is remaining faithful to the genre and to the characters. And I promise you, when I saw Aquaman, I don't care if he was purple or Samoan or black or whatever. When I saw that Aquaman outfit, when he comes out and he's wearing the Aquaman outfit, I was like, oh, that is awesome. And I hope they don't take that costume, because I've seen some of the clips and he's wearing a different black outfit type of thing. I hope he keeps that costume on.
I hate that they changed their costume.
So did they change it?
I think they did.
I hope. Yeah, that I wouldn't like, because now it's no longer Aquaman to me. It wouldn't no longer be Aquaman, and my level of interest would go from, I don't know, 80 to maybe 40. Literally, like literally. All right, let's listen to some of the other stuff.